Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. I'm an attorney here in Providence, and I live in East Greenwich, and I want to briefly address three legal points. First is the staying power of Roe v. Wade, and to debunk the claim, which has been made by virtually every witness in favor of this bill, that we're in a pre-Roe landscape. We are not anywhere near a pre-Roe landscape. Regent, I want to discuss the makeup of the Supreme Court, since that's been raised as well, and its relevance to the decision you need to make in this committee with regard to the wording of the bill. And third, I want to briefly address the radical nature of this bill. Roe and its progeny have been the law of this land for almost 50 years. There is no case pending before the Supreme Court that has any indication or any question that would go to the Supreme Court that would raise the issues that might impact Roe. There is no risk at this time, and even if there was a risk at some point in the future that there was a marginal possibility that Roe could be curtailed or even overturned, it would take years for that case to get to the Supreme Court and to be heard. As to the court, we all know the makeup of the court. We all know there's a very pragmatic Chief Justice. He's already shown and surprised people that he does not have an agenda. In healthcare, he shocked people. In the marriage cases, he shocked people. He controls his docket and his cases very carefully. He's not bound to an agenda, and he has made clear he will not allow judicial activism to overturn precedent, particularly in social issues where he thinks the people need to decide. He controls the writing of the opinions in the Supreme Court, and he decides who gets to write it, and he has a big impact on what's written. And there's absolutely no chance, in my view, that he would allow for an opinion that would reverse Roe v. Wade. And just one reason for that. Roe v. Wade, the principles of Roe v. Wade have been codified in numerous federal cases that don't have to do with abortion. If Roe v. Wade is reversed and the principles are reversed, there are any number of cases dealing with other privacy issues.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Will you just press your button up? I'm getting information from down. There you go.
I apologize.
They were picking you up on the side microphones, but
okay.
You said a lot of good things.
Thank you. Attorney Lavenger, whom I respect greatly, she has devoted years and years to civil rights issues, and she's a wonderful attorney. But she said this can happen in an instant. It cannot happen in an instant. There will be years of notice. This is a fire drill without a fire. And Attorney Kavanaugh addressed it. The pressure is being ratcheted up on you to make a rush decision on a flawed bill with two fundamental claims that are false. One, that if you don't, that we are pre-Roe right now, and we're talking about back alley abortions. And two, that if you don't, there will never be another opportunity for a better reasoned bill and for more reasoned debate and time to decide it. Let me just say a couple other things. The people in this state understand what this issue is now. They did not understand it before, primarily because it wasn't in the press. But Senator De La Cruz pointed out the poll differences based on the questions that were asked. And when the people were asked the question most relevant to this bill, overwhelmingly, over 70% said, no, we are not in favor of abortion up through the third trimester. That is absolutely not the case. Senator Valverde, who's in my district, I can tell you, we were a little asleep in East Greenwich, but this is radical. We are mobilizing, and we are coming after her. There is a huge outcry, and I don't mean by pro-life people, I mean pro-choice people that I've talked to. Many, many pro-choice people who had no idea that this bill could allow for post-viability abortions. Words matter. A couple of questions were asked tonight about the bill. My respect to Dr. Cronin and the other doctors who testified. They sound like excellent doctors, but words matter. Dr. Cronin doesn't perform every medical procedure in this state. She may do it one way, but unless the statute has the words in it, then another physician will do it another way. We need to make sure the law is clear and it's not ambiguous. And I'm very interested in talking about wording consistent with what Dr. Cronin said the practice was, which is if it's a post-viability situation, require that there be a team of doctors that come in. require that there's advice given to the women, require they get mental health assistance and help. That's a great idea. I think we should talk about that. That's the practice. Even Dr. Walker said that's the practice. Well, if that's the practice, let's codify that instead of allowing abortion all the way through 9 months on the advice or on the medical judgment of a single physician who isn't even trained in psychological health. That's what this bill does. There's no requirement there be a psychological assessment. It's the treating physician who's an OBGYN. He's not even qualified, or she's not even qualified to make that decision or to give advice on it. I'm finishing up here. The doctor from the University of North Carolina, I think she was honest, and she made clear to you that this statute will allow abortions for psychological reasons up to 9 months. She said that. That's what this legislation will do, and kudos to her for her honesty, because when there were questions asked about what does health of the mother mean and what will the impact be, they were definitely avoided by other witnesses who testified today. So I would ask you to look carefully at the language. This is not the time, and this is not the bill. Let's have a reasoned debate. Let's make sure the people of Rhode Island are heard, and let's have a bill that works. I ask you not to vote this out of committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for this witness? Thank you. Senator De La Cruz.
Thank you, sir. You made a statement I just want to clarify. You said that Senator Valverde came up and you said that you were going to come after her. Now, I'm assuming that you mean her seat politically?
Yeah, that's...
And that, you know how it happens in the news and
yes,
things come out and they're...
I have deep respect for her. She's a wonderful politician. She ran a great campaign. And all I mean is that she represented to the panel that an overwhelming majority of East Greenwich residents agree with her. And I can tell you, based on my informal discussions, and I've lived in East Greenwich for over 20 years, but we are talking about this, and I can give you examples of people I've talked to that say, well, no, this isn't what we want. We don't want this extremism. We need to address this, and we didn't think we had to. So that's all I mean, believe me.